Welcome, welcome. Hello. I am so excited that you're here. If you are new to this channel, welcome. May this work be as deep of benefit to you as it is and was for me. And if you are coming back, welcome back. Welcome back. I love to see you coming back. If you are enjoying a specific video, please hit the like button. Let me know what you want to hear more of. If you're getting a lot of benefit from these pondering tools, then please share them with a friend. I always say one of the most amazing things is when you are starting to be exposed to things that your friends aren't knowing about and you share it with them, a great restaurant, a great book, a great pondering video. It is a gift that gives for the rest of their life, right? As soon as we're exposed to a new idea, we are changed forever. So it's such a gift for you to pass it on if it's inspiring for you. And as always, if you really are loving the channel, and you want to ponder with me in real time, hit the subscribe button and then you'll get notified right away. Okay. So I am not typically working here on Saturdays. It's Saturday. It's a fall day here in Chicago. It's rainy. And I just had this really lovely practice myself. And I've been thinking about you this morning. And so I wanted to jump on here. This is going to be controversial, what I'm about to say, but it really is my belief. And so I'm going to put it out there. And if you don't agree, you take what you get from this and then you move on. But I find that my vinyasa classes are typically easier than my hatha classes. And for me personally, that's the way it was for me as I sort of found the yoga path. That for me, the vinyasa classes kept me moving through the challenging places. The hatha classes, I had to sit in the own stewing. So when I think about teaching, I offer most of my classes, you can vinyasa, but I don't think I teach any vinyasa classes right now because I do think that sitting in it and really using functional structural awareness and alignment is key, especially as we get older. So vinyasas, I think, are beautiful because they're syncing up that breath and the movement, but I do not necessarily think they're more challenging. So I say all this because I have a wonderful class on Fridays at 9:30 called Yoga for Core. And the reason I started teaching this Yoga for Core class, right during COVID, number one is that COVID happened and everybody sort of freaked out, including me. And I wanted to remember and remind folks that our core, our center is always there, no matter what chaos is happening outside of us, right? There's the core. The other reason I wanted to teach it is because, you think about your arms and your legs are rays of the sun. This is our sun. This is our center, gut instinct, inner wisdom, inner teacher, inner guidance, being able to connect to that part of ourselves on the physical yoga mat, but also in our lives and the relationships that we choose and what we're about to say or not say, being reactive, proactive, being able to really check in with ourselves. So core to me is super duper healthy and the awareness of it. And as many of you know, I had twins. So when I gave birth to my kids, my center of gravity had changed so much. I'd always been really athletic. I'd always been able to do whatever I wanted with my body. After having children, though, as those of you who've had children know, it's like you just don't feel like it's your body anymore. There's something that's sort of, you have to, a new awareness. And so core work became very, very important to me. And core meaning the pelvic floor and core meaning all the way around. Okay. So that's the preface of this. Now, in the Yoga for Core class, each Friday at 9:30, we're in Evanston. You can do it live or online. Excuse me. One of the things that I have been using that core class for is sort of a workshopy vibe where I'm hoping that what you're learning in the core class, you're sprinkling out into all your other classes, including the vinyasa classes that you're choosing. So it's not just come to my classes. I'm hoping that it's going to teach you practices that you can be bringing into other classes. What do I mean? So core in my version is that you are using the core to move through the sequences. You're moving from the center, right? So in our transitions, oftentimes we sort of set up the triangle pose, right? And then we set up the warrior two pose, and then we set up the tree pose, and we're moving from pose to pose to pose as if that's the yoga. But what if the yoga is between the poses? The yoga is the going in and the coming out and the going in and the coming out, and you're centering with that core. You're not going to get injured, right, as much, if at all. And you're learning how to really move with grace and ease. I'm also doing this in my sculpt and tone classes. We walk around with like a 1 pound weight, and I call them ballet arms. And we walk around and we practice just engaging the core, engaging that pelvic floor. We do exercises where we're lifting that leg, moving from this center. It changes the way you feel in your physical body, in your mental body, in your emotional body, all the things. Okay, so here we are. In the Yoga for Core class each month, we're practicing different habits. So we have been playing with the idea of going from, Ardha Chandrasana and playing with turning on, going into that position without using a block, and how do I use my core to move in and out of these poses. And this past week during the class, those of you who were new to it, I noticed that the structure of your Ardha Chandrasana was a little bit off. So you're moving inside of the pose rather than actually aligning it. So I wanted to spend today's ponder teaching Ardha Chandrasana. And then those of you who are coming to the Yoga for Core class, you can be benefiting from this work because you'll be knowing what you're doing in the Ardha Chandrasana from a structural, functional way, rather than that idea of vinyasa where you have to keep moving in and out, in and out, in and out. Okay, so let's talk about Ardha Chandrasana. First of all, it's called half moon pose. It is known to sprinkle some joy into your life. So beware, you might be really joyful at the end of this. I have a wall space here. Maybe you have one. You could play on the wall, like literally leaning on the wall if you wanted to. Typically, we don't have that, but you could use it if you wanted to. So let's begin by taking blocks up high level. Okay, high level, right? There's the tall, there's the medium. Oh, that's flat, medium, tall, medium. No, tall, medium, flat. It's hard to do. Okay. So first thing we want to do is we want to line up ourselves in our mountain pose, nice and strong here. From the hip hinge, we're pulling over and noticing if I shift back into my heels, my knees are locking. So I want to have a nice softness here, maybe even a micro bend in the knees. I'm going to take my hands right down onto the blocks, and I personally like to drip my fingers off the blocks instead of being flat, because I have tendonitis in my wrists, or at least used to in the old days. And so keeping that really nice alignment, feeling either a micro bend if the hammies are tight, or if you feel like you can start to extend those quadriceps, lift those front thighs up, lift those kneecaps up, feeling the attachment behind the knee, feeling the attachment of the sits bones, but keeping it safe that you're feeling the stretch more from the meat of this muscle than behind the knees or up by the sits bones. And you could actually use your hands and like feel into those ropey attachments, right? You can feel into what's going on there, because there's so much tears and strains and things on the hamstrings that you want to be careful. When our hamstrings are tight, everything's tight. So this is that idea of being able to be really fluid. Now, what I'm wanting us to play with today is bending the knees, like I said, the micro bend, and pushing deeply into the floor. I have my feet hip distance apart and I'm pushing deeply into the floor, almost as if the earth is lifting and you're pushing down. You could even take your hands up for those of you working a little bit deeper, not having the hands on the blocks, but really just feeling the structure of those bones. Now look at the kyphotic curve I had here. Right? So my back is in a little bit of a camel back and my tailbone is pointing towards the floor here. How do I turn my tailbone to the wall behind me? And it's going to give me that nice flat back that I'm wanting here. So find that action first. Nice and juicy pelvic tilt. Okay. Now, either hands on the blocks or hands off, either way, we're going to start to feel that a couple of times, just noticing maybe those little accessory muscles on top of the pelvis. 2 more. Keep that action of pushing down. And then beautiful, take your hands to the blocks. Now I'm going to mirror you. So I want you to shift your weight to the left foot, bend that knee, push the left foot down, and bring yourself into what we call warrior 3. The right leg is going to go up. Soft bend on both knees here, just to feel that action. Is the tailbone still pointing back? Do I still have a hump in my back? A kyphotic curve here. How do I feel into the idea that I'm going to start to turn the tailbone back and flatten out that spine? Beautiful. Let's come back and center. We're going to do this a couple times. No worries. Shift the weight to the right foot if you're mirroring me. Bend that right knee, pressing firmly into the floor. Take your left leg up. Feel both legs slightly bent, feeling into the curve of the back. See if you can start to flatten it out a little bit, turning that tailbone to the wall behind you. And again, P.S., it's all abdominal work here, right? This is abdominal work, really good Uddiyana Bandha work. All right, come on back down. Both feet pressing down, root to rise, root to rise, root to rise. Come on up. And then shake it up and shake it up and shake it up and shake it up and shake. I like to dance in the classes. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Now we're going to check in on the other side a little bit deeper here. Go back to what we just did. You've got that pushing down sensation. You're finding that nice flat back action. You're lifting the abdominal muscles. Put a little bit of a soft bend in the knee. Okay. Now feeling the heel pressing down, the back of the kneecap pressing up. So this is pretty subtle cueing. And if it doesn't make sense to you, just do your best. So you're feeling that lower leg pushing down on the heel, lifting up behind the knee, pushing down on the heel, and then the tailbone is starting to lift up, but you're not feeling pulling behind the sits bone or behind the knee. So there's a meat of the muscle here. See where in the hamstrings you feel this. It's very dynamic though. You're pressing the heels down and you're lifting the hamstrings up. Now, go back to the warrior three. We'll shift the weight to the right leg. We're going to take the left leg up and now push into both heels evenly. So you're doing the same thing you were just doing when the heel was down. This time you're aiming to that wall behind you though here. So I'm pretending I'm hitting that door there, squeezing both heels towards the walls or the floor that they're on. Now, some of you can start to turn the hip and close, and turn the hip and close, and turn the hip and close. Now, if you are playing with this Ardha Chandrasana pose, keep a little bit of a micro bend in that knee here. This top heel is pressing so dynamically into this wall. You could put your hand here pressing down. We did a partnering exercise last week where we were really having someone push down. Feel that pushing down, feel the quadricep lifting up. You can use the block or not. And then maybe start to turn the ribs towards the sky, maybe taking your hand up. Now, as always, the forehead is slightly higher than the chin. And I'm really squeezing my kneecaps up. I'm very engaged here. My heels are working. My hamstrings are open and I'm twisting around. And again, feeling like almost someone's pushing your heel down and you're pressing up. One more deep breath here. We're going to go to the other side here. Close it up, close it up, close it up all the way. Root and rise. Now, I do know that not everybody is able to lift their leg all the way up to that full Ardha Chandrasana. You may be at the level where you're just practicing standing on the kickstand and keeping both hands on the block, right? And just practicing this action. But it's the kickstand leg that's really going to be helping you, pushing that heel down, lifting behind the knee, lifting all the way up to the sits bone, okay? So let's check in on the second side. This time, since I have a wall, I'm going to do it against the wall so that you can play with that at home. But in classes, we don't have that. Okay, here we go. Back to our Uttanasana. Halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Find that core. Find that rooting down, heels down, lifting the backs of the kneecaps, lifting the backs of the quads. The backs of the hamstrings, lifting the quads up to the kneecap, really feeling that action, keeping a micro bend in the knees so that you're not shifting to the heels and locking it up, finding a nice flat back. Warrior three, Virabhadrasana three, both heels are pressing, feeling very dynamic here. Heels are pressing. Maybe you're going to start to open that knee, maybe closing it, maybe opening it, maybe closing it. Now, if you're new to this work, again, your kickstand leg is the action. Otherwise, you might even go a little bit deeper, finding that Ardha Chandrasana. I'm going to lean against the wall this time. So my whole shoulder blades are on the wall. My heel is on the wall. I'm going to take my arm here, really feeling action steppy. and then maybe even up and pressing. I'm pressing the ribs into the wall. I'm pressing the outer hip into the wall. I'm pressing that arm into the wall. And then this kickstand leg is very active, really pulling up. And then if you were in the core class, you know what we're doing here is we're going from that pose, squeezing from the abdominals, coming up. So we've been playing with the idea of going in and in and out from our core. Okay. So as always, may this work be of deep benefit to you. And if you have any questions or any other poses that you want me to cover, let me know, because I want you to get the most. Full disclosure, I want to teach 4-hour yoga classes. I do. 1 hour is so short. Okay, deep bows, much love. I'll see you next time.